Good afternoon, good morning, and it's a pleasure to be here. Welcome, Stephane. Welcome, Kostas. How are you today?
Very good.
Doing good. Very good.
Great. Well, we've got a great session here today, and it's my thanks to both of you for spending the time with us. First, I guess I should say congrats to Stephane. You picked up an award, or Mondelez picked up an award last night in CSR, which was great to see. So I'm sure there's been some celebrations in the organization. But let's move swiftly on. Maybe if I could just ask you both very briefly to introduce yourself. And Stephane, can I start with you?
Yeah, thank you, Dave. So I'm Stephane Sacherer. I'm the Global Capability Lead for Procurement on the Procure to Pay area for Mondelez. And I'm based in the US in Chicago.
Great, thank you, Stephane. And Kostas?
Hi, everyone. I'm Kostas, CEO at HICX. And a little bit about us who don't know us. So I co-founded HICX probably about 10 years ago now, and it was really to focus on solving an issue with poor supplier data in large enterprises. And it's actually not been a new issue, but it's been something which has been of a fascinating journey, because it's the last sort of 1 or 2 years where this has become very prominent, right? And if you've seen sort of the Deloitte CPO surveys, they've listed data consistently as one of the biggest challenges. So it's exciting also listening to kind of the talks this week, where sort of a lot of the initiatives, sustainability, digitalization, is all driven off of data. So it's great to kind of see that come to the forefront. And it's obviously been exciting to work with Mondelez and also others like Baker Hughes, like EDF Energy, looking at leading and solving it. And I'm also very excited to hear Stephane's story here.
Great, thanks, Kostas. And not just Deloitte CPO survey, but the Procurement Leaders CPO planning guides as well.
Absolutely.
This sort of problem. So let's get into it. Stephane, let's start at the top. Can you tell us a little bit about the digital procurement vision at Mondelez and the challenges you're trying to solve for?
Yeah, no, and David, you mentioned rightly that we've got the award yesterday, for internal transformation. And for us at Mondelez, I mean, we had really an objective 3 years ago to see how we can reinvent the business, how we can really put the buyer and the supplier in the center as what we were doing. And we have built that project called Idols that got the award yesterday, with the objective to rethink how we do innovation with our supplier, how we do the sourcing differently to be more efficient, how we bring our buyers with the right competencies, and how we can review our digitalization of our systems so that we can bring, the right information at the tip of the buyer so that they can do a great job for the company. And our strategy there in terms of system and processes has been acting in 3 main pillars that we have built and we are still continuing building. One is around data, and we have a project called Data Central, which is making sure that we can have access to all the data we have within the company. And that's an area that's always big. We have a lot. Each company have their own ERPs, and that's usually very difficult to get the data out of it. So trying to put that in one solution or one place for all our buyers. The second thing, of course, has been on the buyer side, where we have a project called Buyer Central. So we try to put the buyers really at the center of what we are thinking and giving them a cockpit when they can really do all their activities directly from one place, connecting to all the systems they need to work on. And the last one is really in terms of supplier. And, not only using supplier as data that we need to maintain from our point of view, but really how we can increase the collaboration with our supplier and really make sure that they are part of the Mondelez ecosystem and that we really work in partnership together. And that's what we call Supplier Central, and that's where we partner with HICX to develop the solution.
That's great. Thanks, Stephane. Just maybe if we can just go into the Supplier Central initiative a little bit more. Can you just explain, what that is exactly, what your goals are, what the real problem was that made you start this journey, and maybe how far along that journey you feel you have come as well?
Yeah. Sure. So the issue we had is really that we have difficulties to really maintain and keep the data up to date on the vendor side. We had the old ways of doing that, via email. We have Excel and things like that, which was really difficult to maintain. And we have difficulties to collaborate with the supplier because we have multiple systems that they need to connect to. That could be for the sourcing, that can be for sustainability, that can be for quality, and so on. And we wanted to find a different way to connect and to find a single point of contact or a single point of entry for our suppliers. So when we've got on that big project, well, the first thing is we've looked at the different tools on the market, and not only looking at a tool that can manage the data well, because that I think there is a lot of tools who can do that pretty well, but looking ahead of that and trying to see, well, if we have the data in, how can I also have a tool and processes that will allow me and the company to be better in managing the collaboration, the innovation, sharing information with the suppliers. And that's where we went to HICX again when we look at our selection, because we thought the tool, on top of managing the data properly, they were offering a lot of functionality to allow us to go above and beyond, just the vendor master data, but really being able to have a platform that will allow us to manage the collaboration with them. So in terms of objective, the first one, of course, has been to manage the vendor master data. That's the first point of entry, if you want, on those type of projects, and that's now in place globally. So we started we signed the contract and starting the project, I think, in October last year. So, in 1 year, we have deployed the solution globally. So that's in 75 countries across the world, and we have now having all the new supplier and existing suppliers starting to connect to that tool. And what we are doing now is try to expand. So first of all, by adding some information that the supplier we would like to share with them, like, for example, their invoices. We will also send them their purchase order and things like that, so that they have one place when they can find all of that. But we are also working in terms of more collaboration. For example, we have a big program at Mondelez, and I think you haven't seen them. That's in the public domain, that we are working a lot on sustainability. And the sustainability within a company is not only the company, but it's also all the ecosystem. So making sure that our supplier as well are part of our journey to sustainability. And so we are planning to build some processes within the tool so that we can share information with the supplier. They can send us information about their sustainability journey, and we can send them back feedback about where we stand at Mondelez and where they stand as a supplier in that journey as well. So to make sure, that we can collaborate together, and we together, winning on the sustainability. We have also some area in terms of quality. Quality is very important for us. I think that's all companies, but we want to make sure we share more information with the supplier. So we will start to share with them some dashboard directly in the tool. So for the supplier point of view, that will be an easy way that they have to remember, the user ID and password, and they will have access to all the information that they need to work with Mondelez and to win with Mondelez.
It's great stuff. Thank you, Stephane. And Kostas, I'm going to come to you shortly, but I just want one follow-up question there, Stephane, around the differential or the difference between the master data management and making sure that the version of the truth is there and everything is in the compliance. You have compliance. That's very different from collaborating with suppliers, and you can't collaborate with every single supplier you've got. You want 100% accuracy of master data management across the supply base, but you're going to collaborate with fewer suppliers. So are you segmenting through, in a different way? Are you, and how do you manage them differently on the platform?
Yeah, no, that's a great point, because you're right. The master data is something you want for all of them, and that's the collaboration and the way we interact with the supplier will be different depending their side, depending how they are working with us, how critical they are with us, what kind of innovation they can bring to us. And the way we are managing that is within the tool, we are able and we have put in place, a classification, if you want, of supplier, and that's managed by our buyers. So the buyer are able to, for each of the supplier we have, define, which category. So we are doing some assessment that's done outside of the tool, but there is an assessment which is done by our buyers to evaluate, which supplier should be in which category, which one we want to have real partner, which one which are critical for us, and this is including in the tool itself. And the beauty of that is that because it's in the tool, we can define the type of communication we want to send to them, the type of information we want to share, the type of question we want to ask them based on the segmentation of the supplier. So if you are, for example, in the partner category, in the high level, you might have, we might send you much more dashboard or statistic, or we might want to do some better action plan into improving the delivery or making better delivery or much more in time, for example. Where for the commodity type of suppliers, so the one which are more tactical, then we might just send them some documentation or information about how we do, and again, coming back with sustainability, which is important for us, we will share with them as well where we are, but we might not bring them to more information or more data to them. So the tool is allowing us to really trigger per type of procurement and by the segmentation, what kind of collaboration we want to do with them. And for the buyer, they will be able to see, I want to see all my supplier, which is on a special segment, and they can trigger a communication to all of them at the same time. Or of course, they will be able to collaborate one-to-one with the supplier on specific action plan or things like that.
That's great. Thanks, Stephane. Kostas, if we can come to you. Now, I mean, you have you've been building this tool for many years. I think you had a history in procurement. You saw the gap here. I mean, how far have things moved on since you first started, on this journey? And do you think that there's still a large proportion of organizations out there that really don't see either the challenge or the opportunity of managing this supplier data and potentially the collaboration aspect of it, successfully?
Yeah, so I think, things have moved along, but it's particularly exciting now. I would say the last couple of years, things have accelerated. I'll break this down. So what's currently exciting and what's kind of moved on, which is interesting, is obviously the way the procurement tech landscape has changed, right? There's a lot of innovation. There's a lot of startups. This is very different and very exciting. And then also, big companies are open to using new innovative startups, right? So this is also obviously exciting. You hear a lot of best of breed kind of thinking, and people are really shifting away from the suite, right? Because they want to drive great user experiences. But the most exciting kind of thing which we're seeing, and I would say it's not yet everyone, this is coming, I'd say best-in-class organizations like Mondelez, like Unilever, like Lesney. So it's being driven mainly by, initially I'd say maybe FMCG, but others are quickly following, is the idea that procurement is looking at supplier management in a slightly different lens. It's no longer about just the mentality of we beat our suppliers up, we want better prices, we squeeze them, and it's a zero-sum game. What we're actually seeing is kind of the opposite. And again, so major brands are thinking, well, if our suppliers are really, really successful, we're also going to be very, very successful. And this idea we're kind of coining as supplier experience management. Now, I'd say these are the leaders. So definitely there's many which are still to come, but we're just seeing this kind of open up as a market. And for me, that is the part which is exciting. So 20 years in this, it's always been, how can procurement shift away from just being, about savings, and that's the only thing we do. And I think now it's going to start to materialize because they're looking end to end at the value chain and saying, look, we have to look at our internal customers, our end customers, and our suppliers, and look at that whole experience between them. Right. And the simple point is recognizing that if I help my suppliers be as successful as they can, I'm going to be really, really successful as well as an organization.
Okay, thanks, Kostas. That's great. I mean, maybe Stephane. I mean, could you give us, a bit of a scenario of how, this platform is supporting you on your supplier collaboration efforts, and how it's enabling, a greater kind of conversation or collaboration with some of your suppliers.
Yeah, sure. So for us, it's starting even at the beginning. So, when you want to do an RFP with a supplier, with multiple supplier, the idea is that we will request directly the supplier to be created in the system in order to make sure that we start the collaboration there. So the supplier, even if at the end is not selected, we will make sure that we keep all our supplier in the tool. So that will help us to make sure you have the right contact person if we need to recontact the supplier for another project and things like that. But also that if the contract is awarded to that supplier, it will have already the contact in our tool and be able to provide all the information, bank detail, tax, and all those type of things that are needed. Now, when they are there is a lot of information, as we said, that we share. So we will work much more in terms of, as we say, with the segmentation of the supplier about sending them information. So what a supplier is established, as we said, they will be able to see their invoices, their POs. They will be able to send communication to the buyer directly or to the accounts payable team directly if they need to. So that will simplify the way they work with us. And then we will share with them, for example, we have a report about, the on-time in full delivery, which is one of the parameters we're looking at a lot at Mondelez in terms of delivery of the item, on the right time in our factories. And for that, we will share with them and we will be able to show them, this is your performance, this is the way it's working at the moment. And then, if we think that it's not, and that we agree with the supplier is not at the right level, then we can also work together within the tool to define what is the action plan we want to make to be able to improve that. And if you want, that's bring the data and the transparency of the data to the supplier and to the buyer. And then when they meet, they have their quarterly meeting, for example, they can, instead of first starting to understand the data, they have the data all the time with them. And they are able then to much more work in terms, how can we achieve something? How can we solve an issue and things like that? So really, instead of doing much more admin work or discovery work with the supplier, they can really have a very better meeting and discussion about the main objective that we face in those type of meeting, which is really improving the relationship, increasing the relationship, and making sure we deliver for the companies.
Okay, good. I'd like just to move on to measures of success, if I may, and I'm sure you track compliance and how many suppliers are on the system, percentage, and the type of data and the turnover of, or how up to date all that data is. But what about value-based metrics beyond that? Because you collaborate for a reason. You mentioned sustainability. Are you tracking that as a result of having implemented this platform? It's a difficult one, I know, but
yeah. So we are not fully yet there with the platform. So the platform, we finished the go live in the last region 1 month ago. So we are really at the beginning of the use and the deployment of the platform. But we definitely want to link the value added to what we see in the platform. So as you said, there is some success metrics that we have there linked really on the usage of the tool. Because for us, if we want to bring value, we first need to make sure that the tool is used. And it's not only on making, as you mentioned, the compliance, or making sure the data are accurate and things like that, but making sure, the same as when you look in marketing about the buying and the repeat buying. What we are looking is the repeat connection to the tool from the supplier standpoint. So making sure that the supplier is staying up to date in the system and is coming once a month, twice a month, to update data. We're expecting that when we will have the invoices, for example, that's planned before the end of the year, that the supplier might come several times a month to see the status of the invoice, make sure they have been paid or when they will be paid. But also with all the things we will do concerning the sustainability, the quality, is bringing a way that the supplier will come in and will be able to collaborate with us. Because if he see the data, if he go to the tools and have a feedback from us, then it's easier for him to send back some more information and make sure we build that. We are planning to also work, and we're already doing that outside of the tool, but if we think innovation, we will open ways for supplier to promote or to push innovation from their side. So if they want to propose something to Mondelez about a new product, about a new capability they have, and we will measure, how many are coming from the tool. And in the future, we're planning even to have suppliers which are not Mondelez supplier to be able to connect to the tool and be able also to send us some initiative in terms of innovation ideas and things like that. So we try really to add that, and we will measure, how often the tool is used to trigger those type of things, and how the tool has helped to increase the number of innovation ideas that we can receive from our suppliers. So really trying to bring not only the data, but really adding values with our suppliers.
No, that's great, and that's a really good sort of like place to finish. We are out of time. Just Kostas, I'd just like to say in 10 seconds, literally 10 seconds, we really are out of time. If there's anything that you would add to those kind of metrics, because they're great metrics, given that we're talking about a digital platform here, about added value of it. Yeah.
No, I think to those metrics, what's impressive is 150,000 suppliers in the platform in 12 months, and it's really about community engagement, which the fund leads to, and people don't understand the value of that. But an example from another customer in COVID is like, I had within a day, I had a complete picture what was going on within my suppliers, within my supply chain, right? Otherwise, I would have had my procurement people pounding the phone to try and understand really what was going on. So if you drive this kind of engagement, the value is kind of gold dust, right? In terms of what you can actually do in terms of your managing your ecosystem.
Perfect. Right. Well, we are out of time, unfortunately. It's a fascinating story. It's great to hear about the innovation coming through and the focus on innovation. I love all that.